There are fighters who compete, and there are beasts that devour. Khamzat Chimaev doesn't enter the octagon to negotiate. He enters to destroy. Usman, Jingliang, Holland, Burns. They've all tasted chaos. But at UFC 319, the challenge is different. Facing him is Dricus Du Plessis, the champion who weathers storms and responds with fire. Chimaev wants the belt. Du Plessis won't let it go without a fight, and while everything points to the wolf prevailing, this time, he'll have to bite harder than ever. Get ready to meet the man who's redefining what it means to be invincible. But before that, subscribe. Khamzat Chimaev was born on May 1, 1994 in Benoyurt, Chechnya, Russia. He lived in a place where wrestling wasn't a sport but rather survival. At age 5, he was already taking to the mat. His childhood was marked by discipline. He began practicing wrestling, which would define his aggressive and dominant style. As a junior, he won a bronze medal at the Russian National Championships, demonstrating his talent in hand-to-hand combat from a young age. But the real turning point came when, at just 17, his family emigrated to Sweden. Khamzat didn't speak the language, but he spoke wrestling. In Swedish gyms, he swept the boards. A national wrestling champion, undefeated in local tournaments, and a reputation that was growing like wildfire. In 2017, he entered the All-Star Training Center in Stockholm. There, among gladiators like Alexander Gustafsson, the wolf found its pack. He traded the mat for the octagon. In 2018, he made his professional MMA debut and got knocked out. Then came the submissions, the TKOs. The opponents who couldn't tell if they were fighting a human or a force of nature. In his amateur debut on September 10, 2017, against Khalid Lalam at Fight Club Rush 1 in Västerås, Sweden, Chimaev already displayed his trademark, pressure from the first second, explosive takedowns, and absolute control on the ground. After dominating the first round, in the second he applied an anaconda choke that forced Lalam to tap out. It was the first roar of the wolf in the world of MMA, and the beginning of a career that would soon become feared across the globe. But it wasn't until May 26, 2018 in Sweden IRFA 14, which featured his grand professional debut against Gard Olve Sagen, an experienced Norwegian warrior, determined to extinguish the fire before it became a blaze, but still without a professional record. Khamzat entered the octagon like a hungry wolf, who from the first round imposed his dominance with brutal takedowns and constant pressure. But it was in the second round at the 2 o'clock mark when the wolf unleashed his final bite. A flurry of ground and pound punches, culminating in a right hammer to the face that forced the referee to stop the fight. And so, with that first knockout, the legend was born. More than an execution, a brutal declaration, and the beginning of a streak that would shake the entire division. In Khamzat Chimaev's second professional fight on August 18, 2018 at FCR3, where he once again proved that the wolf doesn't hunt by accident, it hunts by instinct. With only one professional victory, he entered the octagon as if he already owned the terrain and faced old Magnor. Magnor was knocked down from the start, applying an explosive double-leg takedown.
Men Khamzat tar sig ur. Ja, men Olle skramlar på. Olle är tuff.
Magnor tried to resist but was dragged to the ground, as if he weighed less than the scale indicated, keeping him under control. Between displays of strength and hammer fists, he managed to wear down the Norwegian until he finally broke him. When the clock marked 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the first round, he slid in from behind, closed the lock, and applied a rear-naked choke that left no room for air or hope. The referee intervened, and the wolf added another victim.
Khamzat tar sin tid så. Ska vi se. Ja, han svimmar. Klappar inte. Vi har en vinst på submission första ronden.
The Khamzat storm didn't stop there. The wolf traveled to Bahrain for his international debut, making it clear he wasn't there to gain experience, but to impose his law. Chimaev took Kisic to the ground, controlled him with ease, and unleashed a storm of hammer fists to the face, forcing the referee to stop the fight via TKO. Kisic protested, but the damage was evident.
Me? Whoa! Oh! Hammer fist, that's it! It's all over!
After devouring Marko Kisic in his international debut, Chimaev didn't wait for an invitation to the next banquet. He moved up in weight, accepted the fight with just 9 days' notice, and at Brave CF20, he hunted Sidney Wheeler in 35 seconds.
Oh! Big 1-2 from Sidney Wheeler to start on him. Heavy! That tight waist is... Those are huge strikes! Oh!
But the hunt continued. After obliterating Sidney Wheeler in seconds, at Brave CF23 against the undefeated Ikram Aliskerov, he not only defended his undefeated record, he became a legend. An explosive uppercut and a brutal TKO left the crowd in total shock. UFC Fight Island, July 2020. In the midst of a pandemic with fighters withdrawing from the card due to infections and restrictions, the UFC needed warriors. Chimaev not only accepted the challenge days in advance, he did it twice in 10 days. His first victim, John Phillips, a veteran with heavy hands. In his UFC debut, Khamzat Chimaev burst onto the scene with relentless force and aggression. Just seconds into the first round, he executed an explosive double-leg takedown, dragging Phillips to the ground where his symphony of destruction began.
Black Khamzat. Oh, nice shot.
Look at that.
Really smart work. You can tell that's something they probably worked on and drove to the back.
Clean transitions between side control and mount. Constant pressure with ground and pound and a barrage of punches. Short elbows, hammer blows, and straight punches totaling more than 120 significant impacts in the first round alone.
Fast. He's telling him what to do. Phillips is like, all right, I've got to give you... But look at the leg position. Khamzat has that leg tied up.
Using those little knuckles to cut him, yeah.
Phillips, known for his knockout power, never had any room to breathe. Every escape attempt was stifled by Chimaev's impeccable positional control.
There's 50 seconds left to the start of the next round.
In the second round, after another effortless takedown, Chimaev caught Philip's neck in a quick transition and locked in a Darcy choke with total precision, forcing the Welshman to tap out. With this performance, Chimaev not only won, he announced his arrival as the UFC's newest predator.
Punishment for 15 minutes. Chimaev is going to get a finish. He has to weigh in and only had a couple minutes to spare.
Darce choke. There's the tap.
Khamzat Chimaev by
In his second UFC Fight Night appearance on July 25, 2020, he faced young Rhys McKee, a promising striker who never had the opportunity to showcase his skills. From the outset, Chimaev closed the distance with a lightning-fast entrance, executing a power takedown that landed him straight inside control. What followed was a masterclass in offensive grappling.
had to control the inside of that leg so he couldn't fully pick him up and slam him, but it's brought you UFC level fighters before.
Fluid transitions between crucifix, half guard, and full mount, while unleashing a storm of straight punches to the body, short elbows to the face, and hammer blows that echoed off the canvas. McKee absorbed more than 60 significant blows in less than 3 minutes, unable to get up or respond. Finally, the referee stopped the fight due to the overwhelming superiority. With this first-round TKO victory, Chimaev became the first fighter in UFC history to win 2 fights in less than 2 weeks with fewer than 3 total strikes landed.
Turn into that again.
I mean, this is Khabib-like pressure.
Yeah, this is that might be it. Just when I say that.
Following his incredible UFC performances, Khamzat Chimaev returned to the octagon after more than a year's absence at UFC 267. Błachowicz vs. Teixeira on October 30th, 2021. Facing the dangerous top 15 welterweight Li Jingliang. Many expected a real test for the undefeated Chechen Swede, but Chimaev went the distance with relentless pressure, executing an explosive takedown that lifted Jingliang into the air and slammed him to the mat in front of the stunned crowd. Once on the ground, Chimaev showcased his grappling mastery. With clean transitions, complete control from his back,
It's brought to you by Fitness Kojak. Li Jingliang in red, Khamzat Chimaev in black with an early shot.
He's talking to David. Oh my goodness. Base, fighting the hands and making Chimaev.
and a sequence of punches that forced Li to fight back unsuccessfully. In less than 4 minutes, Chimaev locked in a rear naked choke without hooks, demonstrating brute strength and refined technique. Jingliang refused to give up, but lost consciousness, adding another victory to the undefeated team.
The show. Midway through. Under the chin.
It's over, Paul. It's over.
On November 19, 2021, at the Bulldog Fight Night 9 event in Gothenburg, Sweden, Khamzat Chimaev and Jack Hermansson faced off in an Olympic wrestling match under strict rules. 2 3-minute rounds. No striking, no submissions. Just takedowns, control, and defense. Chimaev opened with a big takedown that set the tone for the fight. His freestyle style quickly took over. Hermansson tried to resist, but Chimaev maintained control with constant pressure and aggressive entries. The grappling was intense, but Chimaev broke the clinches with power and technique. Hermansson showed more defensive solidity. There were moments of close grappling, with both fighters in partial control positions, looking for takedown angles. But Chimaev kept pressing, closing the fight with the low single attempt in the final seconds. Although the score was clear, the fight was full of technical grappling, quick transitions and tense moments that only reinforce the image of the winner. At UFC 273, Khamzat Chimaev was no longer just a prospect. He became a legend. From the first second, Boers hunted Gilbert Burns with relentless pressure, throwing sharp jabs and an explosive takedown that shook the canvas.
Straight right hand drops Burns.
But Burns, the Brazilian veteran, responded with fire. A right hook that staggered the undefeated fighter, followed by brutal combinations that lit up the arena. The second round was pure chaos. Burns landed an uppercut that cut Chimaev, while the two exchanged blows as if the octagon were a trench.
Gotta be careful. There's a lot of time left in this round.
Yeah, and we gotta remember we still got 2
In the third, Chimaev adjusted his tactics. Distance control, a smart clinch, and a volume of punches that wore down the Brazilian. Although hurt, Boers never backed down. With blood streaming down his face and fury in his soul, he finished the fight like a predator. A unanimous decision. Respect earned. Challenge overcome. After surviving hell against Gilbert Burns, Khamzat Chimaev returned to the octagon with a new mission: to knock out time itself. What was war at UFC 273 turned into execution at UFC 279. Against Kevin Holland, Boers didn't negotiate. As soon as the bell rang, he crossed the octagon like a projectile, knocking Kevin Holland down with a lightning-fast entrance. Holland attempted to escape with agility, rolling and twisting, but Chimaev pursued him like a merciless predator.
He's got to keep moving. It's loud in here.
In the chaos of the grappling, Chimaev wove his trap with his signature techniques and a darts choke that closed like a steel guillotine. Holland fought, twisted, resisted, but there was no way out. In just 2 minutes and 13 seconds, Chimaev sealed the victory with a stunning submission, without a single blow landed, with no margin for error. It was more than a fight. It was a demonstration of power.
Now it's even tighter. Amazing control.
Etihad Arena, Abu Dhabi. Robert Whittaker, the former champion with the soul of a warrior and the technique of a samurai, enters the octagon with the mission of stopping the Chechen phenomenon. But facing him is Khamzat Chimaev, a predator who respects no hierarchy. He launched his offensive with an explosive takedown in less than 30 seconds.
I'm going to get this dude.
Early shot from Chimaev and a sprawl from Whittaker.
Chimaev dominated him on the ground for more than 3 minutes, and without allowing Whittaker to get up even once. With 2 successful transitions that took him from side control to back control instead of seeking a classic choke. He applied a brutal face crank. He placed his forearm under Whittaker's jaw, twisted his torso forcefully, and pressed his face at an unnatural angle. The twisting was so intense that Whittaker, with no chance of escape, fell victim to excruciating pain that affected his jaw, teeth, and cervical spine, culminating in a submission as violent as it was precise. Since his professional debut in 2018, Khamzat Chimaev has charted a ferocious trajectory, marked by relentless takedowns and a mindset that recognizes no fear. Forged in Caucasian wrestling and honed in Swedish gyms, his style combines constant pressure, dominant grappling, and explosive striking. He swept Brave CF, stormed into the UFC with consecutive wins in record time, and faced elites like Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman, and Robert Whittaker, submitting them with a blend of brutality and precision. Undefeated, versatile, and ruthless, Chimaev doesn't just win. He transforms every fight and redefines what it means to be a contender in modern MMA. If you'd like to see more brutal fights, Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming stories and fights. See you in the next video.